Close the door. Turn off your phone's notifications. Now, with no one watching, no one grading you, no one applauding, who shows up? Because I need to tell you something most people will spend their entire life avoiding. Your character was never built in the moments people were clapping for you. It was built in the moments nobody knew you existed. Stay with me for the next 12 minutes, because by the end of this, you will not be able to look at your private choices the same way again. And honestly, you shouldn't. Here's an uncomfortable psychological fact. Identity is not what you declare. Identity is what you repeat. You can tell people you're disciplined. You can post the gym selfie, the rise and grind quote, the version of you that looks like it has it together. But identity isn't built in front of an audience. It's built in the 14 seconds before you open that app you said you'd quit. It's built in the choice to keep the extra change the cashier gave you by mistake. It's built in whether you tell the whole truth in the email or just the convenient parts. Psychologists studying self-concept have long shown that people consistently rate their private behavior as more honest and revealing of the real me than their public behavior. And yet most people invest almost all their effort managing the public version. That gap between your public performance and your private practice, psychologists call it self-discrepancy. And the wider that gap gets, the more anxiety, shame, and identity confusion a person carries, even if nobody else ever finds out. Let me say that differently because it matters. You don't need to get caught to be damaged by the gap. The gap itself is the wound. So here's the audit. Not for anyone else, for you. When the room is empty, do you finish what you started or quietly let it die? Do you speak about people the same way you'd speak to their face? Do you tell yourself the truth about your finances, your habits, your motives? If the honest answer makes you flinch, good. That flinch is the most useful emotion you'll feel all day. Write it down. We're coming back to it. Now let's get into the question that makes people uncomfortable, because it should. Is a private shortcut actually victimless? Or is no one got hurt just the story you tell yourself so you can sleep at night? Here's the trap. Most people define integrity by outcomes. Did anyone get hurt? No? Then it's fine. But that's not how character works, and it's not how psychology works either. Every small, private compromise doesn't just cost the world something, it costs you something first. Each time you cut a corner unseen, you're not getting away with anything. You are teaching your own brain a lesson. My standards are negotiable when convenient. And the brain doesn't forget that lesson. It applies it everywhere. To your relationships, your work, your faith, your future. This is sometimes called the broken windows effect of the self. One unrepaired small dishonesty doesn't stay small. It signals to your own psyche that decay is acceptable here. And decay, once permitted, spreads. So is it a victimless crime? No. There is always a victim. It's the version of you that could have existed if you'd chosen differently. That person, the one with unshakable trust in their own word, is quietly dying every time you let just this once become a pattern. And here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. You don't break trust the day you get caught. You break it the day you decide it doesn't matter if no one sees. The exposure isn't the betrayal. The exposure is just the paperwork. The betrayal already happened, quietly, privately, in a room with no witnesses but you. Here's something I've watched happen again and again, in boardrooms, in pulpits, in marriages, in friendships. People don't fail in public because the public pressure was too strong. They fail in public because the private foundation was never actually solid. Think of integrity like structural engineering. A skyscraper doesn't collapse because of one strong gust of wind. It collapses because of compromises made in the foundation. Compromises nobody could see, poured in concrete, buried under floors of polish and presentation. Under public pressure, performance evaluation, scrutiny, and audience, Human behavior tends to regress toward practiced patterns, not aspirational ones. In other words, stress doesn't build new character. Stress reveals whatever character was already there. This is why some people seem to snap under pressure and surprise everyone around them. They didn't snap, they were revealed. The pressure didn't create the crack, the pressure just found it. So let me ask you the question I really want you sitting with. If your life got 10 times more public tomorrow, more visibility, more scrutiny, more people watching your every move, would your current private habits survive that spotlight? Or would they become headlines? Sit with that. Don't answer too fast. Here's why this conversation isn't just philosophical anymore. It's strategic. We are living in the most surveilled, most documented, most data-tracked era in human history. Your search history, your messages, your patterns, they exist somewhere, whether you like it or not. The gap between who you are privately and who you present publicly is shrinking every year. Not because people are becoming more honest, but because privacy itself is becoming harder to maintain. Which means the old strategy, manage your image, hide your private self, is becoming obsolete. The new advantage doesn't belong to the best performer. It belongs to the most congruent person. Someone whose public self and private self are simply the same person. That congruence isn't a moral nicety anymore. It's a competitive advantage. It's what makes a leader trustworthy in a world that's run out of patience for fraud. It's what makes a brand survivable when everything eventually leaks. It's what makes a relationship survive 40 years instead of 4. So ask yourself, honestly, are you building a leader or are you building a liar who hasn't been exposed yet? Because both of those people look identical on social media. They only look different in the empty room. So where does this leave you? Here's the reveal, and it's simpler than you expect. Integrity isn't about being perfect when no one's watching. It's about being honest about the gap and closing it one decision at a time. This isn't about shame. Shame says, I am bad. Integrity says, I see the gap and I choose today to close it by 1 inch. That's not punishment, that's freedom. Because the moment your private self and public self match, you stop performing. You stop managing 2 identities. You stop spending energy maintaining a mask. Spiritually, almost every tradition on earth has said some version of the same thing. Character is what you do unobserved, because that's the only time it's truly yours and no one else's. Psychologically, the research agrees. People with high self-concordance, alignment between private values and private actions, report dramatically higher resilience, lower anxiety, and stronger long-term success, especially under public pressure. Translation: the empty room isn't your weakness, it's your training ground. Every small private choice, the honest expense report no one would check, the apology no one demanded, the work you finished even though no one would have known if you didn't. These are reps. You're not just being good, you're building the only kind of confidence that doesn't collapse under scrutiny. The confidence of knowing exactly who you are, because you watched yourself choose it, alone, 100 times. So here's the only assignment I'm giving you today. Tonight, when the door closes and the phone goes dark and nobody is checking, do one thing differently. Not because anyone will see it, precisely because no one will. Finish the thing you'd normally abandon. Tell yourself the truth you'd normally avoid. Choose the harder, honest option in the one moment guaranteed to have 0 witnesses. Because that one choice, repeated, is your character. It is the only resume that's never faked, the only reputation that can't be hacked, and the only legacy that survives, even if everything else is forgotten. Are you a leader? Or are you just a liar who hasn't been caught yet? You already know the answer. The only question left is whether you're brave enough to act on it tonight, in the one room nobody's watching. If this hits something in you, don't just scroll past it. Comment one word below, the private habit you're going to change starting tonight. Not for me, not for the algorithm, for the version of you that has to live with your choices long after this video ends. Subscribe if you want more conversations like this, the ones that don't let you off the hook. And I'll see you in the next one.